Hello everyone and welcome back to Joy's Creative Finger. I'm building Mermaid Topia the Kingdom. This is a gift that has been given to Bionic by his father Sonic, the fastest merman in the ocean. And this gift was given to him because he's now married to Mina, the beautiful mermaid. And this particular build has been inspired by the shape of an oyster shell, you know, where you've got that little pearl and you try to reach for it and it clasps shut. That's the idea and the inspiration for the shape you see here. It's the Mermaid Master Suite and it's going to be sunken into the ocean bed, and you will see in actual gameplay mermaids swimming around in a house. It's fantastic. You need to see this. I got inspired by a tutorial I saw online on a beautiful channel called Kate Emerald. You need to check her out. She did a tutorial on how to sink a pool into the ocean bed. In Sulani, you know, you can't build basements in Sulani, and so this is basically what I came up with. When I saw her do that, then I thought to myself, great, Mermaidtopia has come alive, and this is the point where I decided to quickly put this together and sink the master suite into the ground, and lo and behold, my Mersims were all, you know, moving around with their tails and swimming around the area and cooking and cleaning and everything underwater. I was just so excited. You're gonna have to see this in a second. I'm going to sink it, but in episode 3 you're going to see the gameplay and what it looks like. It's beautiful. That's when the build will be available for you to download from the gallery, and I'll show you how to sink the build as you can see me doing here. Okay, now the other thing is, I then thought to myself, if this build is shaped this way and just in the middle of nowhere in the ocean, then, you know, where's the front door? How do Sims come in? Where do they party? And, you know, is there any other area for them to sort of live in? So I thought to myself, I will build a fence, sort of like a city wall, a kingdom wall, and we'll talk about that in a second. But at this point I go ahead to put down a lot of special and unique items that can only be found when you enter a couple of cheats. They're quite easy to do. You simply Control-Shift-C on your keyboard, and at the top left hand corner of your screen a field will open up. Then you have to type in testing cheats, all one word, give a space, and then enter the word true, then hit enter. Then you go ahead and type up bb.show hidden objects, all one word, and then again enter. Then you go ahead and type up bb.show live edit objects and hit enter. Then in the bottom left hand corner of the screen you can see where the word is written debug. You just need to type up in there debug, and that would come up. There's like a ton of them. Just click on any one and hit enter, and all these objects come up, but you've got to go through the entire list. Otherwise, on the bottom right hand corner you can type up in the section that says filter items, you can just type up, well, you don't need to type up, you just need to go through it, and you would see the island living pack. Click on that and everything that's unique to this particular pack would come up. But the thing is, you want to go through them all if you want to find other things, you know, that you might want to use, like ruins come from Windenburg and so on. I used a lot of things, but that's how I came about using all these fabulous items to create this lovely ocean bed that you see here, where Mina and her children and, you know, all her family swim around and have an amazing time. I also go ahead to use these bubbles that, you know, bubble up water to the top part of the ocean there, and it's just awesome. I can't wait to show you this in gameplay. It's fantastic. Then I go ahead to put out a couple of stones here and there because it looks like ruins when you're coming from the front part of the build, and then you come up against this massive fortress of a wall that guards the kingdom, and that's what I'm building here. But the first part of this wall is this section here. Very unusual looking, but it'll come together in a second. And in this space you have like a throne room. It's more livable for Sims who are not fish. And, you know, it's really glamorous. And you have to remember, as I said in the previous episode, that Sonic is a very rich mermaid, the fastest mermaid, and he has all the wealth of the ocean that you could possibly imagine. So there's a ton of chandeliers everywhere. Everything tends to have a touch of gold. The walls looks like it's golden in a way, and that's the idea behind this space. A lot of things, I just went for a lot of gold. although along the way I had hints of pink here and there and a little bit of color, but ultimately it just looks like a shiny pearl. In the end, it looks like a shiny pearl, and that's what I'm excited to show you. However, I do not go ahead to furnish it for you to see in this live build. I very well could have, but I like to take my time. And I don't want to feel the pressure of that I'm working against the clock to show you how I put things down. I like to slow down and take my time, and I change things around a lot. Okay, so that's how this front part of this fortress wall is going to look like. And this inspiration, or the inspiration for it, came from the walls of Jericho. It's a very big, very strong wall in biblical times, where you had the city that had a very strong wall that protected the city, and no one could come against that city because of these walls. But two spies visited the city and to see how they could take it down. And eventually, when it was known that these spies were in the city, the men of the town were looking for them. So these two spies were hidden by a prostitute, Rahab, who lived in the wall of Jericho. So that's how thick these walls are. They're as thick as, or as wide as, highways, and so soldiers could walk at the top part of it and look into the distance at the armies that were, say, coming to attack the city and so on, and they would fight from the top part of those walls and, you know, send forth their arrows to take out the enemy. That's the idea I had for this type of front part to Mermaidtopia, that sort of era. So although it's nice and shiny, there are parts of it that will be broken away, it'll look like it's uneven and so on. In some places you'll see how that'll come to be. And I didn't even finish off in this live build. I ended up tidying up when I switched off recording, and I'm very satisfied with the way it is now, and you get to download it. And in episode 3, which is the next episode to go up with this particular build, I will show you how to sync the Mermaid Master Suite step by step when you download it from the gallery, so that you can have the finished product the way it should be, you know. So this is where I've put the fence, you know, the rest of the wall that's finally breaking off and going into smaller pieces into the ocean, so to say. And now I'm putting these strong pillars on the sides to secure the walls and make it as strong as possible. But the idea here is spreading it apart this way was done so that the Sims would have no choice, or would rather prefer to go through the front door. Because, I don't know if you noticed, Sims tend to go the shortest possible way to wherever they're programmed to go. So yes, sometimes, because I have tested it out, the Sims would go right into the water to the left or right of the wall, but most of the time they would go right through the front, which is what I want. Okay, the other thing is, when you see the way the fence is sort of coming up onto the shore, it's as though it just washed up from the ocean and just, you know, sort of surged up out of the ocean onto the shore, and, you know, these little stones and ruins just scattered onto the beach. That's the idea I had as well. So it looks as if, you know, it's sort of pushed forward onto the shore the way a ship would. And yeah, that again is something that I thought would be a good idea, instead of just creating a straight wall on the front part of the plot. So that's why it's sort of like wings facing backwards, or fins. And now I'm trying to make the fence a little bit wavy, and at some point I go on to start readjusting the shapes of the rooms, and, you know, thinking a little bit more about it. Because there is a secret room in this house, in this fence, in this castle. There's so many things you could call it, but yes, there is a secret ensuite behind a bookshelf type of door, which I really like. I like the idea of things like that, especially in things, or builds, sorry, that look like castles. Okay, now I'm just putting in some finishing touches here and there, a little balcony, so that the princess Mina Nambutu, who is actually now Princess Tryon, can actually stand out there and look at the people. As mentioned before, I did not completely finish this in this life build. I went on to really dig deep into the menu where you get hidden objects. I put out diamonds on the build. I hid some treasure up in the tower for Mina, who is obviously now a princess. and it's basically got every aspect of a fairy tale included into the entire build. At least I hope you think so. That's how I feel about it anyway. Right, so at this point I'm going on to just refine certain aspects of the build. I felt that these little sections here needed to be wrapped around in some more fence just to further extend those strong pillars, and then I decided to touch it up with some pink. A splash of pink. So in a way this worked out brilliantly, because I thought to myself it was looking a bit dreary, a bit drab, and I thought little touches of pink here and there would bring it alive, but not all the way around. So you've got the golds and the pinks, and that worked quite nicely. To be honest, as soon as I got to that point, I knew I was done. Thing about building, you keep fiddling around, you keep touching this, tweaking this. It's just because you're not yet satisfied. And at some point you hit that spot and you're like, yes, it's ready. Okay, now I'm just gonna pop some lights on, and then I try to see what it looks like in the dark, and then I thought, yes, I'm gonna go ahead and really include lights into this build. Again, as I say, I was inspired by Hatsi with the way she builds, and one of the things she usually points out is that you make sure to include lights to light up your building, because at nighttime the whole thing is just so dark. And so I really later on, after recording, went on to include a ton of lights just to light up the entire build, and it's quite nice. I think in the thumbnail for this, in the gallery, I chose a nighttime view. I think I did, or maybe I've changed it around, I'm not sure. But this is the part where I fill up the top part with weeds and plants, because again it's pushed up from the bottom of the ocean, and so these are the parts that sort of clung to the spiky top parts of this, wall. And it was completely done for me. I go on to finish off with a scene of ruins, sort of like the crash site for where Mermaidtopia sort of pulled up onto the shore in one big whoosh. And there you have it. Now, it's much easier to do Let's Plays with The Sims 4 than it is with The Sims Freeplay. I've got to pay for every scene in The Sims Freeplay Teeny Issues with a pound of flesh. But yes, I will wrap that series up, don't worry about it. I just got really excited with this pack and basically wanted to play with it for a little bit with you and somehow create my own footprint in Sulani. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye.